Okay, so in this video, we're gonna do a super quick how-to on installing an LED whip on an ATV. So please keep watching. Okay, so I realize in the scheme of things, installing an LED whip is not very complicated. However, I've noticed that they're becoming more and more popular. There's still a lot of people that have never done it. So we're actually in the middle of reviewing this specific LED whip. I'll put that up over here for you to check out. And I thought we should just do a quick how to install it video. It'll be super quick, down and dirty, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we actually get this installed, I realized I should mention what it is you are actually going to need, or theoretically, depending on the light bar you get. So first thing is gonna be some wire cutters, some electrical tape, some pliers, or something that's maybe not quite as rusty as mine, some wire connectors, or you can just splice them together. That's gonna kind of be up to you. Some zip ties, some wire, and of course, an actual light bar itself. All right, now we will get started. Okay, so the first step I recommend when installing one of these LED whips is to mount it first, because that way you know exactly where it's gonna sit. So when you're running your wiring, you know how much you need, where you're gonna tie it off, all that kind of stuff. So in this case, this LED light bar has a quick disconnect, which is awesome. So I can remove it from here, put the light bar aside, and then really all I gotta worry about right now is just mounting this in. And on the Honda 400, it's already got a spot right here for it, so it's super easy to install. Now, depending on the machine you have, you may need to buy a mount that will actually go onto your machine to put this into. For example, my Polaris Scrambler does not already have a spot like this in it right now, so I would have to buy an additional mount for an LED whip. And I'll put a link in the show notes below to a couple options for those as well. So you can go down there, click that, check them out, kind of find one that'll work well for you. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this installed. So we'll run the wiring through. We've got this loose wire. The next thing I'm gonna do is actually add some wire on here. So I'll splice in, I'm gonna splice in quick disconnects just because I like the idea of being able to just pull these off in case I get a new light bar in the future, this breaks, whatever it is. That way I don't have to rerun any of the wiring. Theoretically, I could just pull it off and then put a new one in and reconnect those. So I'll go ahead and put the quick disconnects in and start running the wire. Okay, so we've got the quick disconnects on, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug these in. And then what I'm gonna do is, even though they're, they're kind of already tight, or even though they're already sealed a little bit, I'm still gonna go ahead and just put some electrical tape around these, because you got to remember, this is an ATV, right? It's gonna get super dirty, it's gonna go through the water, everything in between. So I'm just gonna always, kind of use more than I have to in these type of situations. So I'm gonna put some electrical tape around here, and then we'll start running the wires. So electrical tape's all on. Now, what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna run the wiring. Before I do any zip ties or anything else, I'm just gonna run it first, figure out exactly where I want it. So for me, on this one, I know I'm gonna want it behind here, so I'll run it through here. And then I'm actually gonna want it to come back behind here, and I'll have it zip tied up here. This one. So I will zip tie it up here, and then from here, I will actually run it there and then zip tie it here. So easy enough to do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually zip tie it first now, because now that I've got it ran, I wanna zip tie it first, just in case as I zip tie it, stuff moves over a little bit. You don't wanna cut the wires too short. And now as you kind of bend the wire and move it around, it kind of shortens it a little more, I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. And then you get to your battery and you almost don't have enough. So I've got it ran. Now we're gonna go ahead and zip tie it until we get all the way to the battery, then I'll cut the wires. Okay, so we got it ran here. We're good to go there. So now I'm still gonna make sure I give myself enough extra room, just because I like to be safe. We'll cut off the extra wiring here. Of course, splice it back. And then once we get it spliced back, we will plug it in. All right, so just like that, it's hooked up, we're wired up, we're done. So as far as the installation goes, that's pretty much it. It's that simple. So let's go ahead and plug this bad boy in and see how she looks. Okay, so as you just saw, it's wired up, it's hooked up to the battery. Now it's just a matter of plugging it in and making sure it works. All right, look at that. Might be kind of hard to tell in the daytime. We'll get a little B-roll, cue the B-roll footage at night. All right, guys, so that's really all there is to it. I hope this was helpful. If it was, smash that thumbs up button. Otherwise, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you on the trail.